What's up everybody, my name is Sonny and this is Sonny English. If you're new to my channel, I would consider subscribing because it's about to get real. I'm about to upload a series of videos covering the writing tasks. Now before we start talking about the tasks, I want to establish a foundation. We're going to start by learning how to link sentences together. So that means we're going to have to talk a little bit about grammar. Now I've heard there are PTE coaches out there that say, you don't have to worry about grammar. Now for anyone that says you don't have to worry about grammar, they don't know how to teach grammar. And just in case you're paying someone to teach it to you incorrectly, I'm just going to teach it here for free. Now it's not that complicated, nothing too detailed, nothing too in-depth. It's just a simple way that I use to link sentences together. Now when we're actually doing the writing tasks, you might have learned something differently. You might have learned something easier. So how do you know if your technique is working? Check your grammar. If you're not getting 80s or 90 with your writing technique, that shit ain't working, brah. But anyway, y'all ready? Let's get into it.
Alright, creating a complex compound sentence. Oftentimes you probably hear people say compound, complex, but I'm going to call it complex compound here because I want you to know that the complex is more important. We will always create the complex first before the compound. Now just to refresh, I'm going to go over on how to create the compound and the complex step by step. I won't be writing out too many sentences, but you will see here that if we want to create a compound sentence, we can use conjunctions. Okay? And remember, technically, for us to create a compound sentence, we will actually have an independent sentence in the front and an independent sentence in the back. And to properly link these two sentences together, we would place the conjunction between them. But technically, we would need to have a comma. If we place the comma in there between two sentences, you would have the compound. Now, since this is quite easy because this is the one that most people are familiar with, I'm probably going to avoid this one. Okay, I'm going to be actively avoiding how to create the compound sentence here. When I create my complex compound sentence, I would probably use this one. And we also create compound sentences with the conjunctive adverb. And if you remember the lesson on that, we can also put an independent sentence in the front and an independent sentence in the back. In order to link it properly, we will actually need to have a semicolon and then a comma. This will create the compound sentence, and we'll do it for all of the conjunctive adverbs. Okay? So now, I would say that these would be the most common ones that we would use. And because for me, when I do the writing, the content is the least of my worries. Now, if you can take a look, I would say and furthermore can be used in a similar way. It's to continue on with the same topic. But would be to contrast. Okay, I've talked about this in the previous lessons. So you can use that in a similar way. And so and therefore are both to provide a result to something. Okay, so that is how we would create the compound sentence. And I went over this pretty quick because I already have lessons on this and you can go back and review it if you want to. So I won't be going into too much detail because you have already seen this. Next, with the complex sentence, we will be using a who, that, or which. And the complex is more important. So we're going to be looking at this more with the summarized written text, summarized spoken text, and even the essays. Now, who can be used for people and which can be used for things. And if you remember, that can actually be used for both. Okay? And for the sake of our writing, because it's easy, I don't want to use it. Okay? At least make it a little challenging for yourself if you plan on writing it yourself, because I will have a template that can be used for all of the writing and all the sentences, the complex compound sentences, all of that is already pre-written for you. So for the sake of our writing, we're going to be using either who or which. Now let's scroll down and take a look at the sentences. But before we start, let's create some samples just to make sure we remember how to create the complex. I think the compound will be quite easy because it's two sentences and you just put those words in the middle. So how will we create that complex? I will create that simple sentence for you again, which is what we said in the example or in the lesson before. I have a sentence here that says I bought a blue car, right? So remember, blue would be the adjective. Blue is an adjective. Now make it blue. Okay? Blue is an adjective that describes our noun, which is car. So we want to use the relative pronoun in a similar way. We will make it into a sentence and we will describe a noun. So instead of putting a sentence in front of the noun, we will put it after the noun. But it's used to add more information, just like blue did for car. we will add more information to car. So for the time being, let's not even look at this sentence. Let's pretend that it's not here. And we want to write any random sentence that starts with car. And again, you've probably seen this before. So the car runs smooth. Okay, just keeping things real simple now. And then we bring this sentence back. And we see that we have two sentences here. Okay, so to create this complex sentence, we want to see if we have similar nouns or same nouns. Now, would you agree that these two cars are talking about the same car? Yes, and we've already looked at something like this. So in this situation, we would take the noun. Usually I'll find it as the subject. That will be easier to link. We will take this and change it to the relative pronoun. And in this situation, is car a person or a thing? It is a thing, so we would change it to which. Okay, and remember, we need to take which and the entire sentence and place it after what we changed which to from. So what was which originally? Which was car, so we would just put it after car. We removed the full stop and we just placed it after car. And again, I'm going really fast on this because we have already done this before. So there you have it. I created a complex sentence by creating two simple sentences. And the sentence now reads, I bought a blue car which runs smooth. So that is how we're going to decide how we link the sentences. If two sentences have the same noun, we will create complex. If two sentences do not have the same noun, we will create compound. So let's take a look at the sample sentences. Please read this to yourself. And now I'll read it for you. The library hall was restored and decorated largely through the generosity of donations. Students are excited about the news. We read two sentences here. Now, do these sentences share the same noun? And when I say same noun, I meant like car and the car. So do they share the same noun? If they share the same noun, we will create a complex sentence. If they do not share the same noun, we will create a compound sentence. So, do they share the same noun? No, they do not. So, we will link these two sentences together with compound. Does it really matter which one we use? Furthermore, however, therefore? As far as the PTE goes, not really. It doesn't really matter. I will focus more on the grammar than actually making sense. So in this situation, I would just pick furthermore. I'll just pick the first one. So we would need to have, well, there's two spaces here. I'll make this as small. So we would need to have the semicolon, space, furthermore, comma, space. And we will make the students, the S, small. And now we have two sentences linked together to make compound. And once again, we decided to use compound because both of the sentences had their own topics. They didn't share the same noun. Now let's look at the second sentence. Take some time and read this to yourself. Now I'll read it for you. The Royal Society, who is a thing of the past, printed 6 important memoirs. The memoirs are relatively important to all students. Now with these two sentences, did we see nouns that were the same? If we have nouns that were the same, we would create the complex. If we don't have nouns that are the same, we will create compound. In these two sentences, do we have nouns that are the same? I believe so. We have memoirs. I'm just going to highlight it so you can see it. And then we have memoirs again, so that is the same. So if they have the same, usually I'll take the ones that start with the subject, right? So if the subject is memoirs and that also ended with memoirs, it will be easier to link this way. Now, is memoirs a person or a thing? It's a thing. So what do we use here? Which. So we would take which and put it after what we want which to be, right? Which are relatively important to all students. So we will put that, just remove the full stop, and it's linked together. There's your complex sentence. And once again, these examples, it's similar to what we've already done, but now the sentences are just longer than what we practiced before. But still, this is not the complex compound that we're trying to do. I'm just showing you a review of what we have already done. So now we will create the complex compound. Take a look at this sample below. So I wrote out one sentence already, okay? This is, rules of the approved policy were useless in the end. One sentence. Let's ignore this for now. So we won't be looking at that for now. I want to create two sentences. one starting with the government and rules of the approved policy as the other one. Now, for the sake of practicing this, it doesn't really matter what we say, okay? The content doesn't matter. You can write out your own sentence first by pausing the video, and we'll practice linking them together. But just keep the sentences simple. We don't need to have anything long and complicated. And we definitely don't want to have linking words. So this is what I would write. I would say the government has strong support. Oops, spelling. Support. So the government has strong support. I guess depends on which government you're talking about and who you're asking. But again, that doesn't matter what we write. So the government has strong support. That's one sentence. The next one I need to write is rules of the approved policy made the public angry. Okay, so I just wrote another simple sentence. Now we unblock this. We have 3 sentences now. Okay, so we have 3 sentences here, and this is where we create the complex compound. First, we need to identify 2 sentences with the same noun. Which one is that? Would you agree that rules of the approved policy, this one, and rules of the approved policy, this one, are the same nouns? I made it too easy for you, right? These two share the same nouns, so we will combine these. So I'm going to copy these sentences and put it in the box below first. Okay, so one here and then one here. Okay, and then one below here. So because these 2 sentences share the same noun, what do we do with them? So we'll just take the bottom one, and remember, we'll take it and change it to the relative pronoun. Now we have to ask ourselves, is this a person or a thing? Well, rules of the approved policy cannot be a person. So if it is a thing, we would just use which. Okay, and then what do we do with this sentence? Let's just remove the full stop for now. Remember, we have to take which in the entire sentence and place it after what we want which to be. So what do we want which to be? Which is supposed to be rules of the approved policy. And there is your sentence there. So rules of the approved policy, which made the public angry, were useless in the end. That is a complex sentence. Okay? Now the box dropped down to the next page, but let me go back up. And we have one more sentence. This is the third one. Let's take this. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to paste that sentence here. And this is our third sentence. We have already created the complex sentence, so now we need to create the compound. So we just take this sentence and just add it to the back. And because they're talking about angry, so okay, so I don't think it's the same topic. I'm going to go with however. Okay, and then make the T small. So now we have one sentence. Rules of the approved policy, which made the public angry, were useless in the end. However, the government has strong support. There's your complex compound sentence. This is exactly what we're going to be doing in the summarized written text. And I'll go over that with you in that lesson to show you how we'll create the 3 sentences. After we create the 3 sentences, we will link it together to create the complex compound. But it doesn't stop there. We're going to use this in the summarized spoken text, and we're going to use it in the essay. Now that's only if you want to do the writing yourself, because I'm going to provide 2 lessons, one to show you how to write it and the other on how to use the template. And if you choose to use the template, the complex compound sentence is already pre-written for you.
Okay, there it is. That's the foundation. We're going to be using this technique and apply it to all of the writing. So in the writing tasks, I won't be asking you to overwrite. You're going to keep your sentences simple, and then we'll link them together. We'll apply it to all of the writing. We're not writing for IELTS, you heard me? So the video to follow this one will be the summarized written text. I will show you how to apply this technique to the summarized written text. Once again, my name is Sonny and this is Sonny English. Please don't forget to subscribe and give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you on the next one.